what I wanted to show you, what becomes really interesting, as these run into each other. So here I just shaded in the bottom half, and you're seeing how they're running into each other. It's spirally either way, depends on the hemisphere, but it's the center, they're just spinning around this way around. So the rising side spins into the setting side becomes the rising side. In 24 hours, it all moves around. So in one moment, we're just paused in a moment. That's our chart. We're stopped. You ever played freeze? Or is it Simon says stop? Simon says when you have to stop in the moment, whatever you're doing in that. That's kind of like your horoscope, your houses or your horoscope. Stop in that moment, and the universe stops. It's flash. It keeps moving. You've picked up your identity for a lifetime. Okay. We're going to just start here. Just got to go through them. So when we see these houses running into each other, well, they all run in. Let me just go back again for another minute. They run into each other. 3 into 4, 2 into 3, 2 into 5, 1 into 6, 12 into 7, 11 into 8, 10 into 9. They spin into each other. And at each level, there's a level that they affect each other on. And that's what I want you to be able to. It's a very simple concept, but it really helps in solving puzzles. So if your first house is how you get yourself, how you see yourself, not out in the world, it's the identity you put together, what clothes you wear, what you do, how you feel. You're coming out of the home, you're projecting your energy out. You got the resources that are clothes or things at your disposal. You put it together to put yourself together. Go out. You have a personal feeling about something, whether you talk about it or not. If it's abuse, you don't want to talk about it. That's going to affect your identity. If you're communicating it, all these things is the rising half of your chart up to your ascendant. So this first house, the first house of the identity, the ascendant, it's really your energy. This is the stuff that you worry about before you talk to someone. It's like the image before, it's the image that's looking in the mirror, not, it's you behind the image that's looking in the mirror. It's not the image of what you're projecting outwardly. That is the 12th house, as it affects others for good or bad, for worry or for hope or for fear or for positivity. But that security that you're coming from and what kind of face you put on it, that security or insecurity of where you're coming from, that image, that identity, that's your first house. There's a sign on that. You have your attitudes to this. And then we project that out into the world, up to the midheaven, out to see what we can do it. And I have sat in Pluto just in the 12th, but I used to go out and I get to with my class, and I had my English teacher. Yeah. How do you dare put your face in my classroom? What's a person like you even dare coming into a class and pretend you're learning? The guy was really condescending. It wasn't an encouragement to learn. He was more trying to weed out and get people to quit. So he'd only have the best students with him, and nobody was good enough. He ended up leaving the country and going in that place because he would be considered really abusive teacher these days. That was after the war. But anyways, you project out positive or negative, doubts, fears, sorrows, happiness, insecurities, all of these. You can't hide unhappiness on your face without looking more fierce or more ferocious, or you can't hide pain. It's going to show on your face where you're coming from. A bad night's sleep, it's going to show on your face. You know, like the Viagra ads. You had a good night. Wow, it was great. It's going to show on your face as you're projecting out. You're dancing down the street. Okay, so this ascendant, this identity, but this is the inner point, what you put out, and then you see how you influence people or don't, and then you try to understand you understand why they're giving you the reaction they have, or why they're responding to you, or why they're not, and how much it's going to cost, or whether you can afford to be part of this, or what's involved in this, and then you start getting individual feedback from other people. You're responding to other people's reactions, and you have relationships or you don't, or someone dumps on you, so that's stupid, or you know, in marriage as well, in marriages and partnerships and business, anyone who knows you is going to give you, is going to be responding, is giving you is going to give you energy, a response, is going to respond to what you've put out, and they may not always respond positively, and you're going to take it in. You're going to take it in positive. And so the sixth house is where you take in your impressions, where you take in the feedback, where somebody says something that hits you personally. Yes, that was so good, Johnny. Oh, wow, great. I took that in. That's good. That was horrible, Johnny. What are you doing? Boom. Everyone picks on Johnny. Okay, that's so good, Robin. That's great. Was that so terrible, Robin? Oh, gee. So we get the feedback, and that feedback often challenges how the feedback we get from other people challenges the identity that we have. They're in our chart, we see them as opposing each other rather than as a whole plane that's running into each other. It's just tipping at there's sensitive points at those points, but it's really a whole plane of the line of consciousness, conscious of what you're projecting or where you're coming from, what you want to project, and conscious of how other people react, how you're reacting to other people's response to you. So whether you see it or not, that's up in the outer side, but how well you've done and who you are inside that's below the rest. That's one is the personal affirmation, the other is the feedback and getting affirmed, put down, whatever. It's enough to make you sick or happy. You're not getting good feedback. You don't feel belong. You disassociate. Or people giving good feedback. You're feeling you belong. Well, then you can seem like you're doing. These run into each other. So this is if you're getting good feedback for the things you do, you get better. You tend to want to do more of it. So your identity finds skills it can do that other people find useful. Or your image knows how to respond to others. Wow, what a novel concept. But negatively, if you're not responding, your image is going to be disassociated with not responding to others, not learning from others, and other people are going to leave you alone. You're not going to get feedback, and you're going to have a void of feedback, a handicap on. It's healthy to get feedback on when something's good or bad. You're just trying to get things together, you don't want anyone to see it. Sometimes you haven't, because that would, if someone criticizes, I can't do anything. So this between projecting and reacting, getting yourself together, project, or getting yourself together after someone reacts. This is the idea of health, your identity, what you're projecting, and your health, how you're taking things in, sixth house. It's all part of what would be healthy. So planets in the first house are going to accentuate the identity and getting yourself together to project things out. And they're going to spin right over into the sixth house of they're going to be tied up with how you respond or how you don't respond. You're trying to push with those things and people are responding to those things, and you're going to have feedback around the very thing. So there's a really intimate interweaving between the first and the sixth houses. When you think of spinning top, well, that's fairly even very easy to spin a top like that. Interesting thing, you add the numbers up, it's 1 and 6 is 7. So it's like the lucky number when you have these harmonized right. When you got yourself together, you got a right attitude on what you're projecting out, and you have a ready ability to respond to others. Well, you're not more important than others. But you got yourself specially together, but you're ready for response too. This is a really mystical puzzle, that balance. Very often we're warped one way or the other on this, and the top is wobbling. If your character, the things below the horizon, if your subjective being starts wobbling, boy, what's your status going to do? How can you work if your personal world is all wobbling and insecure? It's hard to be anything significant out in the world. So it's a simple concept, but it really helps me a lot in the mechanics of seeing how one side relates to other and being able to make this connection between the skills I have and what I want to be doing, who I am and what I can do. And will I put myself through, will I work enough, or will I study with other people? Will I apprentice with other people to get enough skills so that I can get a better confidence in myself, that I can do this better? For me with music, I have it with music. So whenever I'm trying to identify, play music, I can play myself. I can play drums. I can play things on my own, no problem. As soon as there's someone else there and there's feedback, someone could judge that that note's a sour note or bad note or something. I wasn't allowed to sing as a kid. I blocked about singing. But when I'm on my own, I chant. I can sing for hours. But when I'm around someone else, if people are singing happy birthday, I'm behind the scenes. If it stopped, You're not going to hear my voice. It's behind there. So it's an interesting puzzle between putting it, how you get yourself to put out, trust to get your energy together, put it out to get your image together. So yeah, hi. You put it, things that, hi, how you doing? If you're a salesperson, you put out the sales thing. If you're not, what are you projecting out? You got 12 different attitudes, how you project out. And 12 different attitudes, which can be positive and projective in a positive way, or can be projective in a worrisome or doubtful or negative way. So we have the predisposition from our chart. Our circumstances or life are going to be affected whether we put out positive thoughts or negative thoughts, a positive identity or negative, or an in-between. A lukewarm identity is going to create lukewarm effects in the world. An extreme identity is going to create extreme effect and get extreme reactions. And the extreme reactions will affect the extreme identity and either extremely reinforce it or break it down. But these are more naturally integrated. Our health and our identity are tied into it. When you're feeling down, when you're not projecting well, you're not feeling well. When you're not feeling well, you're not projecting well. You're feeling good, you project well, you show it. Wow, it's just first sixth house running into each other. Okay. We'll come down to the next one. We'll go to the second and the fifth house, how they run into each other. So it's further down, more primary to your personal motivation. It's further down in the wheel, but on the top, it spins. Even if this is together, it spins really well. This is your personal values and your resources and how you perform with them. Let me perform for you. Let me dance for you. Let me sing for you. Let me do something for you. I have the resources. I can do this. How do you use money for creative things? Are you creative about how you use your money or your resources or your talents? Do you believe in your talents? Don't you? Some kids are never allowed to play growing up. Wow, if you can't, if you're never allowed to play, how do you ever play with your resources or play with your talents or use them? If you're just trying to fit in out in the outer world, I don't feel there's some personal play in this. A lot of times, the outer world's out there. Maybe we have a relationship, but one person talks to us. We have our love and our kids, and we have a personal place where we respond and we're okay. We have our values there. And it's easy to go out and deal with the hassles out in the world as long as we have some values and it's going to help the kids or help things. If the second house and the fifth house work together. But second house isn't just about money, although it's often about money and resources. It really is the circumstances around you, the environment around you in which you're born, or in any moment. It's the resources and the talents that you have, how you can use your environment to put yourself together, how you can use the things around you, and what things around you that are around you that you actually choose to use or not use. If you get a bad attitude from home, there's going to be a lot of things, I don't want to use that, I don't want to do that, and you're handicapping how you project. If you have personal deeper attitudes, that's going to have a bigger effect. So this second house and fifth house of how you project and having resources, having talents, having skills, having materials and things at your disposal, and having an attitude to use them. Boy, a lot of people just don't have an attitude to use they don't use what they got. They don't appreciate their values. Some people are very talented, never work with their talents. No one would like it. I'll just do something else. Of course, then you have an impaired second house. What that second house impairment is going to do, it's going to spin over into your love life and your fifth house of performance and screw up your performance, or not screw up your performance. Not screwing up would be a screw up, right? It's just they're interwoven. It's not two sides, two sections of a chart. It's a whole dimension, whole level